Hey everyone, welcome to the Spring Beachbody Challenge. For this part of the meeting today, I'm going to take you guys through our manual for this year. We've added a couple pages, and so I want to take you through that. You guys should all have that. If you don't, just pause the video and coaches make sure and hand those out, make sure everybody has one. But if you do, we're going to go ahead and open that up. The other thing, I'll just make a note, if you have not already gotten your Inbody Scan, you want to make sure and have that with you as we go through this, as well as making sure that you have downloaded the Myfitnesspal app. Okay, so in the early parts of this video, you can go ahead and do that. Again, most people are going to have that already done. Let's go ahead and start through the manual. As we go through the video, some of these pages are going to pull up on the screen, so we should be able to go through it. But let's go ahead and flip past the table of contents to the opening page. Every year we start with this first idea, and it is to know your why. Okay, for a lot of people, setting goals is going to be very important that when you set a goal, that we start with your motivation, your truest, what we call your truest why, the reason why you're taking part in this challenge, and that you want to make a change. And then move to the how, which is what we're going to do today. And then you get to the what. What does it look like? What's the end result? A lot of times with nutrition especially, we set a goal of what I want the product to be. What do I want to look like at the beach? What do I want to look like, or the scale to look like? And then we don't end up getting into the real true motivation until it gets really tough. And so we want to go ahead and start with that, because ultimately this is not going to be a challenge that we want to run through willpower, but we want it to be a true sense of purpose, so that you know when things get challenging, because we know food is emotional. Habits are really hard to change, and so when those habits start to show themselves and it becomes more challenging for you, we want to make sure that you're able to push through and still remind yourself of why you started in the first place. That's where we see people be the most successful. So what we want you to do, you can read a little bit about that as well, but we want you to take some time on your own and go through this and write down the why you're here, what motivates you to make a change, and that be the starting point for you. Okay, the goal for all of us in this challenge, whether your goal is weight loss or weight gain or muscle building, fat loss, we want you to be equipped to know how to make the body composition change that you choose. So we want you to be equipped to gain weight, to lose weight, to maintain weight, to change your physique. And we want you to have the tools to know how to do that, because for a lot of us, your goal right now may be different in 5 years. It may be different in 10 years. You may have a cousin or a child or a spouse that wants to do this as well, and we want you to be equipped to help them explain nutrition in a way that makes sense. And so what we want to do is we want you to be able to identify your goal and to create a plan to know exactly which habits you should focus on. So what we're doing with the challenge today is focusing on habits. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to this next page, and that is how to win. We're going to talk about how to win the challenge, what we're doing, the how of all this, and then we're going to get into food and some of the habits that you'll do on a daily basis. The challenge is going to be determined by 4 categories. The first is body fat percentage loss. Okay, how our muscle relates to fat, that change is going to be percentage. Then we're going to talk about muscle mass gained. It's important that whether your goal is fat loss or muscle gain, that muscle is preserved as we go through this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to measure the amount of muscle that you gain, or at least being able to maintain and avoid losing muscle. The third is body fat pounds lost. Okay, that's the big thing that most people are focused on. We want to make sure, obviously, that if your goal is to lose body fat, that we're losing body fat, not muscle. The last thing is your daily points. Those are the habits that we're going to talk about. That's some of the food, some of the water, the sleep, the exercise. Those are the anchor points of seeing success with fat loss, muscle gain, body fat percentage change. We're going to rank everyone. We've got over 100 people signed up for the challenge in the spring here, and so we're going to rank everyone 1 through however many we have. The lower points is going to be what you're aiming for to be higher up on the leaderboard. Time and time again, the points ranking also is going to help determine the winner. No matter your results, if you forget to log your points, then it's going to affect your ranking at the end. So make sure we've got this. We're going to talk through the point system. We've got it in your manual for you to keep up with, but we're going to make sure that you guys know how to track that easily. What we're doing that's new for this year and in the years following, we're going to make sure that if you are going to be doing the challenge and you want to be considered to win, that you're able to take a before and after photo. Time and time again, we see people see amazing results, tremendous results, but they miss out on doing that before and after picture. And so new this year, if you want to be considered for the prizes we're going to go through in a minute, make sure you take a before picture and then you're able to duplicate it as an after picture. We've got some instructions of where you need to send those and when the appropriate time to send that is going to be. Previous top performers, we've already done a Beachbody Challenge this year. Earlier in January, we started one and we actually had the 2 highest results that we've ever seen in the challenge. You can see at the top, Matt, he lost 8.5% body fat, 20 pounds of body fat lost while gaining over a pound of muscle. All right, his wife Brooke did the challenge as well, 5% body fat. She lost 19.9 pounds of body fat and gained 3 pounds of muscle. You can see on and on some of the people who've had the greatest success in the challenge, and we've listed them there. For the prizes for this year, first place, $300 cash. Second place, you're going to get to choose fitness shoes of your choice. And third place, we're going to put together a Coyote swag bag of some things from the gym to give you. Those are the prizes. Let's flip on to the next page. Let's talk about how this is going to work. So, getting your daily points. We obviously know the Inbody scanner is going to be how we determine the fat percentage, the fat loss, the muscle gain, but how do you get your daily points? And ultimately, what are the habits we want to focus on to see the results on your Inbody scan? Those are listed here on the next page. These points are the foundation of your success. So we want to make sure that as you go through these, you remember we have seen time and time again, we've had over 250 people do this challenge in the last 3 years. We have seen over and over again that the highest points getters in the challenge see the greatest results. These are the anchor points. This is also the thing that keeps us away from having to do diets that are more extreme. It allows us to focus on simple things and really help you wrap your mind around what are the main things to focus on and how can I eliminate some of the other things that I see in the fitness and health industry that may be just big distractions from the main things. Daily points, you're going to have a scorecard. There's an example down at the bottom of the page. Your daily points, quality of food, what types of food am I eating, quantity of food, how much food am I eating, 100 ounces of water for the day, in bed for 8 hours and 30 minutes. That's screen free. Obviously we're not going to be able to track how long you're actually sleeping, but we're going to go screen free for 8.5 hours at night. 30 minutes of physical activity. That could be walking, an outdoor sport, an activity that's not in the gym, but 30 minutes that's physically active. Then bonus points for a class workout. 6 days of the week, Monday through Saturday. You're going to get a bonus point if you do a Coyote Fitness workout. Okay, that's also obviously going to count as 30 minutes of activity, so it's kind of 2 for 1 there. On Sunday, we don't program a workout. We really highly recommend a rest day from class workouts, but we still want you to be physically active. So you're going to get the 30 minutes of activity, that 0.5, that's still going to be there on Sunday, but the bonus point that would normally go for a Coyote Fitness workout is going to be switched to if you avoided alcohol for the entire week. Okay, only 1 point. This year on the last page of the manual, we added some questions about alcohol that we get frequently asked, and we want to go ahead and kind of explain a little bit about alcohol and why it's important in the challenge, but it's only 1 point per week. An example day is going to look just like that. Later in the manual, we've got a whole booklet for you, or a whole page for you to be able to identify how to keep up with your points. You're going to do that on your own this year. So instead of worrying about SugarWOD and trying to log in and do points, you're going to hold on to this manual and you're going to actually manually fill in your points. A week is going to look like that, 42 possible points for the week. Let's flip to the next page. Some of the reasons why we've chosen quality of food, quantity of food, and so on. Okay, we've gone through this in the past, but it's just really important. We've identified some of the things you can see in color that's there. We're going to provide for quality of food. We're going to provide a shopping list. Okay, it's going to help you to know what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, so that you can score that point. High quality foods are essential nutrients, and they tend to be lower in calorie and more filling. especially if you have a goal of fat loss, it's going to be vital that you are able to fill your stomach up with lower calories as opposed to some of the higher, the more processed foods that are very small, if you even look at them on a plate, but are packed with calories. Okay, so we want you to be full. We don't want you to feel hungry while you're on this challenge, but we obviously want you to be able to eat less so you can reach that goal. Quantity of food. The goal for quantity is for us to help identify what your goal is. We're going to give you a calorie number to aim for, additionally with what those calories are made of: protein, carbs, fat. When we do that, we're going to help you try to aim to be within 90% of that goal every day. If you can do 90% for quality, 90% for quantity, you're going to get points for those two things with your food. Ultimately, weight gain comes down to, am I eating the right number of calories versus what my body is burning in a day? We can try to do our best to estimate that. No one can tell you exactly what your body burns, and it probably changes day to day, but we have got it down very, very close, and we're also going to tell you how to check to make sure early in the challenge that you've got the right calorie set, and then that's going to ultimately determine if you see weight loss or gain. 100 ounces of water. We talk about this a lot. This is one of my favorite things that people talk about when they get done with the challenge, is how water helps them avoid feeling hungry. It also helps with energy levels. Your exercise doesn't feel as challenging when you're properly hydrated. It's going to increase your digestion and help with a healthy metabolism. Your gut loves water, and water is going to be one of the main components to those, especially those of you who are trying to lose weight. Water is going to be incredibly important to making sure that you feel full and you feel good when you come into exercise during the challenge. In bed for 8 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, this is something that is probably going to be the most challenging thing for a lot of us. It's vital that you just plan ahead for this one. Okay, take some time, write out a new schedule, and one of the things that's a great trick is we actually encourage you to set an alarm to get into bed, even more importantly than setting an alarm to wake up. If you can set an alarm to get into bed, your body is probably going to govern how much you need to sleep, and when you get up, it may be easier to get up, so you may not need to worry about trying to hit snooze over and over again if you set time to get in bed early enough. So we'd encourage you to do that. Adequate sleep, and we've put this down here: hormone health, metabolism, cognitive function, energy levels. When your body is sleep deprived, it throws your hormones out of whack, these hunger hormones that we have, and it's going to increase obviously the time that you can snack because you're up and out. There's more opportunities to eat, but also your body is going to try to signal to you to get energy, and those signals are going to come in the form of hunger. And so instead of getting the energy from food, your body's just craving the energy you get from rest. And so one of the great hacks to your nutrition is getting proper rest. 30 minutes of activity. Again, it can be a workout. That obviously is your bonus point additionally with the 30 minutes of activity. But like we mentioned before, it can be going on a walk. It can be doing yard work. It can be these other things that allow you to be active where you maybe sweat a little bit, but doesn't necessarily have to be burpees in the garage and things like that. 30 minutes total. Make sure you keep up with that. And then the bonus point, alcohol, and obviously doing the class. Let's flip to the next page. How to track quality and quantity. We haven't yet gotten to where we're going to be setting up your calorie count. We're going to do that on Myfitnesspal in just a minute. But what we want to do now is talk about how we're going to track that. That's some of the most frequently asked questions that we get. So for quality, in the following pages, we're going to help you set your daily calorie goal. More than just hitting that number though, we want those calories to be filling and make your body feel good. High quality foods are going to do just that. If your goal is weight loss and you're going to be lowering your total calorie intake, it is going to be extremely important that your quality go up so that you feel good and that you, again, feel like you're able to continue to eat. Each day you're going to aim to hit the calories. Our goal is to have 90% or more of those calories come from the food list that we provide, or, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, other comparable foods that maybe aren't specifically in the list. You're going to have a 10% margin on your calorie goal to be able to eat foods that are on the do not eat list or foods that are maybe processed. So an example, you can still be successful if 90% of your foods come from the food list, but you at the end of the day have a couple Oreos or you put some ketchup on your chicken so that you're able to get your protein goal. If you're able to take your calorie goal, say you have a goal of 1,600 calories, you have 160 calories that can potentially come from whatever food you want it to be. We want to make sure you know that you can see amazing results without being just 100% all in on every bite of food. 90% though is a lot, so it is only a 10% window. You can still see results and have your Oreos at night if it's measured. Getting into the habit of keeping the Oreos from being 500 calories and making them 150 calories can be the difference, and also still help you push through some of the cravings maybe that you have. How to score a point for quantity. Okay, this one has two parts. We've put on the sheet A and B. Okay, we're going to go through it in order at the top. The quantity of calories are going to determine your weight, period. That's important for people to know. Fasting, keto, paleo, all these different diets, all things, when you see someone who's been successful, it doesn't matter what their diet was. The reason they were successful in losing weight is because they ate fewer calories than their body burned, period. That is the only thing that matters. We want that quantity though to be set to where you're able to see the weight loss, but also eat enough of the proper foods, protein, carbs, and fat, so your body feels good when you exercise and you build and maintain muscle. So it's not just about eating 1,000 calories, starving yourself and losing weight. We want you to feel good when you come in and you do the workout that has back squats in it. We want you to feel good when you leave here. We want to make sure that you're eating enough of those macronutrients. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you a 10% window of your total calories. That is you have a 10% range to hit in relation to your calorie goal. If my goal is 2,000 calories, I can eat between 1,800 and 2,000. 10% window, 200 calories under, or even 200 calories over, 2,000 to 2,200. You get a 10% window over or under your total calorie goal. The same thing applies to your macronutrients. We're going to set up how many grams of protein do you need, how many grams of carbs, how many grams of fat. Myfitnesspal is going to do all of that math for you. All you're going to have to do is look at the list and see if you can get that bar graph as close to your goal as possible. You have a range of 10%. If my goal is 160 grams of protein, I can go 16 under or 16 over and still get a point for the quantity of food. Let's go to we're going to come back to this and talk a little bit more about Myfitnesspal in just a minute, but let's go to the Inbody Scan. This is a sheet. We're not going to read this entire sheet, but this is just going to be some hopefully educational information for you in relation to the Inbody Scanner. The Inbody Scanner is a great tool for seeing progress, and that's it. It's not perfect, but it does give us a great option of how can I measure and track my progress so that if I do make a change to my nutrition, I'm able to identify if that change was correct or if I need to continue to tweak that. As a part of the challenge, you get two. You get a before one. You probably did that before the meeting. You're going to do one after at 6 weeks at each of our gyms. They're $10 if you want to check in between the challenge, and every 2 weeks you want to make sure that you're on the right track. You're encouraged to do that, but with the challenge you're going to get to your before and after. The three measurements that we're going to use for the scanner is muscle mass, number 1, body fat loss, number 2, and body fat percentage. We want to make sure that if we're losing weight, we're losing body fat and we're not losing muscle, okay? In the notes down in the bottom, I put something that I've seen, and this is just some experience from challenges in the past. People have been very honest, and they've said as they come and get ready for the scan, a lot of times they will be traveling maybe the day before and miss a meal. Or some people will think that if they go low carb right before the end of the challenge for the last couple days, that it's going to help them push through and see a little bit better results. It actually goes the opposite, because when you start to manipulate specifically carbohydrates, but mostly calories, and you go to do the scanner, it's going to deprive your body of muscle, and it ends up changing the way the scanner reads your body muscle, and that's going to lower your body fat percentage. And so what I would encourage you guys to do is eat the calories that you have set, and make sure that when you do the scan, it's not after fasting the day before for some reason. Maybe it's travel or getting busy. And then also make sure you're not skipping out on eating your carbs in an effort to maybe manipulate the scanner. Make sure you eat the proper number, and if you didn't, just wait another day until you've eaten normally to make sure your muscle can scan correctly. You guys can read more about that if you need to. There's an example of what the scanner will look like. Ultimately, body fat percentage is going to relate more to your muscle even than it does to body fat. So prioritize your protein, prioritize your carbohydrates, especially make sure you hit those numbers, because if you lose fat but also lose muscle, it's going to make it look like to your body your leanness isn't going to change quite as much. So encourage you, focus on your muscle during the challenge, and that's going to help you experience the best results from a leanness perspective. Let's flip to the next page. This year, we again have added the before and after photo. This next page, you can read about it. It's just some examples of before and after pictures, but also a way to help make sure that you give a really consistent before picture and after picture so that it's easy for people to see your progress, for you to see it. You can read more about that there if you would. You need to do this if you plan to win. You do not have to do it if you're just doing the challenge for your health and don't plan to be considered for winning. But it would really help us tell the stories of your success if you're able to do that, so then we can share it and reach more people and help more people see life change through their health and fitness. What we're going to do at the very bottom, if you'll just look at that, guys, if you'll send those before and after pictures, you can send those to me, Caleb@coyote.fitness. Ladies, if you'll send yours to Sydney@coyote.fitness, and we'll help put those together. But again, you don't have to send us your before and your after separate. Just take your before and then send the before and after at the end of the challenge when we get done. Next is your scorecard. We're going to be able to pull this up on the screen, but with the scorecard, this is what you're going to use as the challenge scorecard. Okay, I've gone ahead and put a 6 in for today, Monday. This is day 1 of the challenge. A lot of you didn't know what you needed to do for the day, so we're going to go ahead and give you a 6 for today, but the challenge and your score is going to be officially start tomorrow, and it's up to you to hit those numbers. We understand that the shopping list may be kind of challenging this first week. It may be a little bit, it may not be ideal for you to go ahead and go into in the middle of the week without those foods, but I'd encourage you, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, go ahead and get your calories set up. Track whatever you have. If you miss the quality for a day while you're doing the shopping list, again, the total quantity is going to be most important. So we want to make sure that as you guys get into the challenge, go ahead and try to get shopping as quick as you can. But this is your scorecard. This is what you will turn into us with your final Inbody scan. Okay, let's flip over. Getting started, we're going to go through Myfitnesspal next. You want to go use the shopping list to go shop for your foods. Go ahead and do it. If you can go tonight, if you can go tomorrow, if it needs to be tomorrow afternoon. I know it's a little bit challenging to go in the middle of the week, but you can make it happen. The last thing I'll say, and I've added this too, is you may want to get a food scale if you don't have one. That can provide a lot of peace of mind for you in measuring how much of each food that you're eating. Go ahead and buy a food scale while you're at the store. If you need to order one, you can do that and get it in the next couple days. But we really need a food scale to be most accurate with measuring your food. Of course, it's not absolutely necessary, but it will make a huge difference in your accuracy. Do what you need to do to have containers to be able to drink and measure 100 ounces of water a day. Set the alarm to go to bed and to wake up, 8.5 hours. Zen Planner, go ahead and set your schedule for the week. If you're going to prioritize getting into the gym and building that habit as well, go ahead and log into class on Zen Planner and plan your week out from the beginning. And that way you have it down and you're less likely for something to come up. Go ahead and put it in today. On your scorecard, at the end of the day is mostly where people are going to be able to go through their points. So I would encourage you to put this scorecard somewhere in this manual, somewhere where you're going to be able to easily put your score in at the end of the day. Have it somewhere where you're going to be able to remember it so you don't have to try to go back in your mind and think about certain days. Final thoughts, social support. This happened in January. It happens every year. The people that see the most success typically are people who do the challenge with a significant other or their family. I would encourage you, if you don't have someone in your family who's doing the challenge, to at least go and ask them for support during this challenge, because what we find is that food, especially in our meals, are very communal, that they're done in community with other people, and typically we're not just eating alone. And so what we want to do is make sure that the people who are bringing food into your environment, into your circle, that they're on the same page and they can maybe help take steps to eliminate some of the temptation that you have to break away from the diet that you've set as your priority. So we'd encourage you to go ahead and have that conversation with them. Ask for support. Even if they're not doing the challenge, that's okay, it's their journey. But if you ask for support, many times they're willing to help. And so we want you to be able to have the support you need while you're doing the challenge. Let's go ahead and talk through Myfitnesspal. Guys, again, this is a great time to pause the video if you need to and make sure that everybody has this app downloaded. This video is going to be up on YouTube. You're going to be able to go back to it. You're going to have this sheet with you for the rest of your life. This is going to help you set your calories based on whatever goal you choose. Okay, we're going to go through this in order. You're going to select More on your home page. When you go to More, it's going to pull up a menu. You're going to go to Goals. When you're at Goals, you're going to set your current weight from your Inbody Scan today. So we want to set the current weight there. Next, you're going to set your goal weight. We want to make sure that you set your goal weight within about 20 pounds of where you are today. If I have a goal of losing 45 pounds over the next year, however long you have it set up, we want to still set your goal to within about 20 pounds for now, and then we can move that goal later. After you scroll through and set your goal weight, next you're going to choose your activity level. This is very important. If I set the wrong activity level, Myfitnesspal is going to budget me a lot of extra calories that I'm not burning in a day. And again, everybody's unique. I think there's a lot of myths around metabolism and how big of a difference that actually is. Whether you're old or young, it's really not as big of a deal as we're sold and marketed to. And so what we want to do is know that we're going to be very close, but the best way that we know to accurately choose your activity level is this. If you were doing 3 to 4 classes only for the week, so say you come into the gym 4 days a week and do the class, you're going to set your activity level to lightly active. Okay? If you come in and do 5 or 6 classes a week, maybe you have a job where you're able to get some steps in or walk around or move around a lot, you're going to set your activity to active. When in doubt, I would set your activity level to lightly active. You can always change it if you find that your calories are too low. But for most people, I think they would rather set their calories too low at first and adjust it if they find they're not able to hold muscle. So we want to make sure that we don't set it to active unless you're coming in 5 or 6 days a week and you're very active outside of the gym. Next, we set your weekly goal. The weekly goal is half a pound option. There's maintenance. Then there's on either side to gain, which most people are not choosing to gain, but if you are, that option's there, or to lose 0.5, 1, 1.5, or 2 pounds per week. When we set our goal, many times people select 2 pounds per week because they're all in, they're going to do the challenge, let's go ahead and do it. That's going to set you down on average somewhere between 600 and 1,000 calories per day of what your body actually needs to maintain your weight. That may be mind-blowing to a lot of people. That is a very extreme goal. I would encourage you, if you have not tracked your calories at all, I would almost say you're going to see progress just being at maintenance. And you're going to be a lot less miserable. You're not going to feel near that hunger. In fact, many days during the week, you're probably going to find that you have to eat more than you typically would. But where you're going to see the biggest change is that on the weekends or on the special occasions, those are going to be the times where you're going to really have to bring your calories down to your maintenance level. Now, most people though, you're here, you want to see weight loss, we want to let you do that. So I'd encourage you to set your calories somewhere in that 1 pound, maybe up to 2 pounds. Just know 2 pounds is very extreme. You've got to be very disciplined with high quality foods. 1 pound, it's still going to be about 500 calories less per day than what you need to maintain your body weight. So don't be afraid to set that, especially if you haven't tracked your calories before. You're more than likely going to see great success even without doing the all or nothing 2 pounds per week. Select the menu for calorie, carbs, protein. So on that menu there, you're going to hit that first button that says calorie, carbs, protein. This is where we set your macronutrients, protein, carbs, fat. We want to first set protein. That's the number. We're going to select that. Here's what's really important in this. Myfitnesspal is going to set this, and most nutrition labels are set for these astronomically wild and unhealthy percentages. Okay, what we've got to do is we've got to set the protein correctly first, and then we're going to set the carbs and fat to get the 100%. If you have the free version of Myfitnesspal, it's going to be set by percentages. Okay, That's okay. That's perfectly fine for this. What we want to do is set your protein percentage to the percentage that's going to get your grams closest to your goal body weight. Guys, if you, I've put some notes down on the bottom of this page, because if this is something new for you, there's a couple things that we see often that I think are just some safeguards to help you make and not make a mistake that we see very often with a couple of these things. So the first thing, if you ever go in and change your weight, say you go 3 weeks and you lose a little bit of body weight and you want to go and update this, or you decide you're going to bring your carbs down 5 and your fat up 5%. It's going to change, anytime you change any of those numbers, it's going to default it to the Myfitnesspal default, which is 50 carbs, 20, and 30. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. So make sure you screenshot the calories that you have set now so that you can pull it back up and see where you were after the meeting and what we had set this to. The second thing, make sure you eat the numbers that you have set. Okay, a lot of times in the challenge and kind of the way that people are with starting out a new routine, some people want to go above and beyond in an effort to really make progress. It actually can hinder your progress if you try to do that by going under your calories. So if we set your calories to a certain number, that is already building in a significant deficit based on your goal. We don't want to go under, especially on your carbs and protein, because that's going to be exactly why we end up losing muscle in the challenge when we're eating in a deficit. You are not giving your body enough to be able to function at its current weight, and so it's going to have to lose something. Really prioritize your protein, your carbs, and make sure you avoid under eating the numbers you have set in an effort to preserve your muscle mass. If you skip tracking on the weekends, what it does is it essentially takes all the numbers that you did Monday through Friday and it tosses them in the air. Your body works on a 7-day average at the minimum. And so if we track for 5 days and we don't track for 2, and these are mystery days of calories, more than likely they're over on some of the calories total. They're under on protein a lot of times. And so what we can do is, if you picture those extra calories being redistributed through the Monday and Friday of what you did really, really well on hitting your numbers, that's going to make it to where you end up seeing a lot less of the loss that you had planned for. Okay, the last thing, make sure you turn off any settings that have exercise calories set. We want to make sure that you are not budgeting calorie set, because we've already budgeted that into your current setup. The sheet that I have here is a little bit out of date. I've added 2 things, and I want to go ahead and make sure on your sheet you've got 5 and 6 here. The 5th thing is that if you've never tracked your calories for, you're going to make sure, and we talked about it a little bit, but make sure you don't set your calories for extreme weight loss. You're going to see progress even without choosing that 2 pounds. The other thing is that Myfitnesspal is not going to allow you to set your calories under 1,200, because everyone, doesn't matter how big or small, if you have your calories set on Myfitnesspal for 1,200, that means they probably gave you a stopping point, because you're going to see some results without eating under that. There's no adult that needs to be eating that few calories, no teenager that needs to be eating that few calories anyways, so you're going to see loss. Go ahead, 1,200 is the minimum that it's going to let you do. Let's go ahead and go to the next page. We've got a timeline for you. You can read through. That's just to help you make sure and set some calendar notes in your phone or wherever you set your calendar. That's going to help streamline the process of these 6 weeks. We've got our shopping list next. Protein, there's some lean sources of protein. I tell a lot of our clients this, but there's not extra sources of protein out there in the world that we just haven't heard of. Protein is very simple. It's going to be one of the biggest challenges to your new nutritional routine. And so getting into the habit of having lean proteins available for you is going to be crucial to success in the challenge. Looking through, we've listed some of the sources. You can read through, choose the things you like. Don't feel like you've got to eat things you don't like. There's enough food here for you to be able to make choices, but it's going to be important that you have it available. We've listed some seasonings as well. Don't forget, you can put lean meat and lean sources of protein, and you can mix up the different types of seasonings and really change what that meal feels and tastes like. So don't be afraid to eat similar foods and just mix up the seasoning and change the seasoning. For example, if you cook 5 days of chicken all at once. Don't feel like you've got to season it all the same. Leave it plain and then change the seasoning day to day. That can really help people with their protein. You guys can read through the list there. Carbohydrates. Those are our vegetables, our fruit, our starches. We've listed some things. Obviously, we didn't list every vegetable that's out there. If there's a vegetable that's on the outside or in the produce section of your grocery store, that's probably going to be okay. We listed as many as we could on those things. And then our starches. This is the one a lot of people have questions about. This is a pretty extensive list of starches. So go ahead and look through this, think through some things that you really enjoy, and then find some options. With the fats, we listed the calories per gram of your protein, 4 calories per gram, carbs, 4 calories per gram, fats, 9 calories per gram. Over double what those calories per 1 gram. That means we need to be very careful when you measure your fats. We've listed out some nuts and seeds and some of the oils that are okay for the challenge, but it's vital, so important that if you're going to measure anything and be very detailed with it, it's your fats. Because if we accidentally over budget our oil, you can easily start to sneak up into the hundreds of calories just by a simple mistake of measuring. So with your fats, go ahead and measure those. Peanuts are on the do not eat list, and so peanuts are not considered a fat that we want to get food from. You can see some cooking options as well. There's milk and cream, almond milk, coconut milk, rice milk, hemp milk, hazelnut. Those are all options for you when it comes to milk and cream. And then we've listed some sweeteners as well that are okay. But again, highly encourage that you measure if you are doing a maple syrup or honey, coconut sugar, things like that. Foods to avoid. This is a new paragraph up at the top. This is real important. I want you guys to make sure we're really not trying to villainize certain foods. We don't believe there are good foods and there are bad foods. There are foods that are very easy to overeat. These are considered bad foods. There are foods that are do not treat your body in the inside of what's going on in your body when it's trying to process those foods. There's a really unhealthy response in your body to a lot of foods. And so that's where you hear the term bad foods. But ultimately, if 10% of your calories come from these bad foods, you're going to be okay. And we actually encourage that because life happens and there's a lot of events in life where there's really bad foods that are higher calorie that don't treat us well, and you may choose that you'd rather have that than have the health. If you can keep that to 10% or less of your meals, you're going to experience the best of both, and I think you're actually going to enjoy those foods more. These foods are not inherently bad. Remember, in this challenge, you have a 10% window to eat some of them. They present overall negative consequences when consumed regularly. Many people are regularly eating foods that are common causes of side effects, such as acne, bloating, diarrhea, headaches, etc. Many of these foods are additionally chemically altered to make them easy to overconsume. There's a lot of side effects, and one of my favorite stories from the Beachbody Challenge is when people come and tell us that they experience a dermatologist. I guess their dermatologists are blown away at the way that their skin has changed from making certain cuts to their diet that they had no idea were the root cause. Even some other diseases and things that people have had and been dealing with and taken medicine for, they've experienced success in eliminating those just by cutting out some of those things. And I'll just go ahead and make a note. You can read through this list. Dairy is going to be the #1 thing. That's a non-negotiable. 70% of adults, 70% of you in the room are allergic to dairy and don't know it because it may not be an extreme side effect, but it is causing some sort of inflammation and it is causing something that's happening that you maybe have gotten used to through the years. And by cutting it, you're going to experience what it should feel like after you eat certain meals. So dairy is the one thing. Obviously high fructose corn syrup, some fruit juices, grain-based foods. We're not in just, gluten is one of those things that we don't want to just throw gluten-free out there like everybody has to do it, but most of us should do it because, again, it is a very highly likelihood. It's a food group that is causing side effects that you are probably living with and may not know about. And so we want to give you a chance to see how your body feels. If you add dairy in and you add gluten in and you don't notice anything after 6 weeks when you try to reintroduce it, great, enjoy it. But for a lot of you, it's going to be I think it's going to be very encouraging for you to find the solution to some of those problems that you've been having. You can read on processed foods, soy-based foods, sugary snacks, sweetened drinks, all the things, breads, pastas, and other foods that are not gluten-free. Those are on the do not eat list. Finally, the last page that we've come to is added this year. Frequently asked question, and one of the most frequently asked questions is about alcohol. We have in the past, we've done this challenge where alcohol was added in every day for a point, but we understand that a lot of you are not to a point where you're going to completely give up alcohol. That's okay. We want to help just educate you so that you can make a decision if it's something that you do want to give up for the next 6 weeks and even longer, or at least cut back significantly. I want to read through some of this, and then of course you're going to have it on your own. But a lot of times people have heard the term empty calories. Empty calories, when it comes to alcohol, is best understood by seeing that alcohol has calories in it, but the labels also do not have carbs, they do not have fat, they do not have protein, because alcohol is not fat, carbs, or protein. It is its own macronutrient. It is 7 calories per gram. And so because it's its own macronutrient that's not included on your nutrition labels, you're going to see a lot of companies who advertise 0 carbs, 1 carb. For you who are trying to make a change to your overall calories and to your body composition, we have to choose either a carb or a fat to track your alcohol. Okay, so what we want to do is understand that first, carbs help with energy and help with muscle building. They're 4 calories per gram. They're not empty, because if you get your carbs from syrup or if it comes from a sweet potato, at the end of the day, it potentially is going to help you build muscle and give you energy. Protein, 4 calories per gram. It helps with building muscle. Fat, 9 calories per gram. It's going to help with hormone regulation and with long-term energy. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram, and it is seen as a toxin by your body. Okay, so that's where we get empty calories. It's calories that are going to potentially add weight, and they're calories you've got to track, but it's doing nothing. If anything, it's hindering the protein, carbs, and fat that you've been eating. If you want to take a beer, for instance, and track your calories, okay, let's take 95 calories, pick your light beer. We want to try to figure out how to put this on Myfitnesspal. The best way to do that is to choose whether you want this to be a carb or a fat. You get to choose. You can even split it half and half. We understood, and I put this down here, if you're going to make this a carb, say you get 150 grams of carbs a day, and you know you've got a little extra, and you want to log your beer as a carbohydrate, you can do that. You need to divide 95 calories by 4, and that's going to give you the number of grams that you need to make sure and not eat during the day for that beer. If it's a glass of wine, there's another example as well. 1 glass of red wine, and that's a true serving, not one of the tall glass servings. A true 5-ounce serving of red wine, I think, is around 250 calories or so. 62 grams of carbs is how we have to track that if you want to keep up with your macronutrients. Okay, 28 grams of fat, which when a lot of us are setting our fat, that's going to be a number that is almost half of your daily allotment of fat. So if it's worth the trade-off of doing that, and you want to be, if you want to see progress and set the calories that you have, you're going to have to figure out if you want to log those as carbs, fat, or maybe split the difference. That way you don't take up half of your daily fat for the day. 3 reasons we avoid alcohol. 1, when your body's processing alcohol, it reads it as a toxin. It shuts down everything that's good about the protein, carbs, and fat that you've been eating and your muscle recovery, and it's going to try to clear it from your body. And that's what happens for the most part when we're trying to drink alcohol on the weekends, when our body is resting from all the physical stress of working out, all the mental exhaustion from working and learning and doing the things that we're doing during the week. That's when our body needs recovery the most. If you're putting a toxin in, your body shuts down all the recovery, and it's trying to get rid of that toxin. And until it does, it's not going to process and metabolize food the same way. Alcohol hinders sleep quality. That's where 80% of your human growth hormone is produced. When alcohol is hindering that, it's making it very likely that you're going to miss that growth hormone, and you're not going to be able to adapt to all the strain that you put on your body when you've been exercising. Studies show that it can affect your recovery 3 to 4 days after even one time of drinking alcohol, more than one serving. And so most people are doing this on the times they need to recover the most, so consider that as well. The last thing is dehydration. It's going to drastically affect your energy levels, and so when you're consuming alcohol, understanding you're going to probably be less likely to make a good nutritional choice, because that dehydration is going to bring in some of the brain fog and maybe even help you lose some of the motivation you have. And so it's going to affect not only your exercise intensity and how it feels, but also the way you decide to make good choices when it comes to your food. Alcohol is here. That can help you make an educated choice. Guys, what we're going to do now is we're going to let the coaches go through and answer some questions that you may have. Of course, you can always reach out to me through our social media or any of our coaches as we get into the challenge. We'll be glad to help you. Make sure and follow our social media so you can see weekly updates and some of the tips we have as you go along week to week. But we're really glad to have you a part of the challenge. We hope it's great for you. Let us know if we can do anything to help you. Good luck.